On an Okinawan bluff above coral water, a lone pine leans into the trade winds. Locals leave shells and red cloth at its roots. They say the tree speaks when the sea remembers your name. Chapter 1. The Pine Above the Coral Shore. The road ended in crushed coral and the sound of surf combing limestone. Kaito hauled his camera up the bluff for sunset shots. Whitecaps, fishing skiffs like toys, the horizon a straight rule. The pine at the top leaned seaward, needles soughing a steady hush. Around its base red cloth strips fluttered, faded vermilion tied to roots like prayers. Shells cupped grains of rice. A tiny sun-sheen pick lay tucked beneath a stone, its plastic glint dulled by salt. A sign half lost to rust stood nearby. Utaki, Sacred Grove. Kaito folded his hands and bowed. He had grown up with grandmothers who taught such courtesy. The air smelled of kincho bug coils and clean ocean. As he framed the shot, the wind dropped for a breath, and he heard it, not words exactly, but the shape of them gathering in the needles like rain prepares to be rain. Chapter 2. The Voice in the Trade Winds. The island wind usually spoke one language, push. Now it hung like a held note. The needles vibrated with a thin human timbre. Kaito, came the sound. The consonants softened the way elders in the market said his name. Then a second phrase, rounder, older, uchinaguchi, lilting, mensore, a welcome and something like machion, waiting. Kaito's scalp tightened. Hi, he answered before he could stop himself. Yes, to a voice that had not asked a question. The wind returned like a reprimand, stronger, rocking him on his heels. The pine's trunk creaked in a register like a woman clearing her throat to speak over a drum. Far below, a group practicing Asa dance beats paused, as if they had heard the same thing and chosen to ignore it politely. Chapter 3. Offerings Tied with Red Cloth. A K-truck rattled up the track and stopped. An auntie climbed down, barefoot in rubber slippers, hair wrapped in a scarf against spray. She carried a small bottle of alamori and a packet of rice wrapped in newspaper. You heard it, she said, not asking. She tied a new red strip to a low root with quick fingers. For the ones still at sea. She explained the cloths mark promises, safe returns, thanks for nets full, bargains struck with what lives between here and Niraikanai, the far sea. Listen when the wind sinks and the tree asks for stories, she said, but if it says your name at night, no answer. The waves love what answers. Kaito set down his camera. He poured a capful of alamori at the root, and the earth drank it like a thirsty man. The auntie glanced at his gear. You film, she asked. No filming at night. Some things show on screens that don't cross back by morning. She smiled to blunt the edge of it. Daylight is for visitors. Night is for listening. Chapter 4. The Storm and the Island Names. The sky bruised from cobalt to gunmetal in minutes, rain sheeted sideways, warm as bath water and twice as insistent. The pine bowed and straightened, each movement creaking syllables. Names threaded the wind, island surnames Kaito had heard at funerals and fishing cooperatives, each given back with exact honorifics. He heard one that stopped him mid-breath. His grandfather's. The old man had gone missing off Itoman in a typhoon the year Kaito was born. The voice in the needles changed, easing into a cadence he recognized from family altar prayers. He saw, as if placed there for him, his grandfather's tackle box on the deck of a small boat, hooks rimed with salt. Rain stung his cheeks, the way grief stings when it has nothing left to cling to. The squall passed as quickly as it arrived. The sea returned to a high, clean blue. The pines settled, its red ribbons dripping like tongues catching the last sweet drop. Kaito whispered, "Nifi debiru, thank you." The wind did not answer. It didn't need to. Chapter 5. Ryukyu Groves and Whispering Trees. They sat on the truck's tailgate and shared onigiri while the pine dripped onto the red dust. "Utaki are not parks," the auntie said. "They are mouths to the other side. Women, Utah, keep them in balance. Sometimes men hear them too if their ears are soft." She tapped the pine. "Some trees are better listeners. Pines, banyans. This one holds names. If you hear yours, wait for morning." Kaito opened a recording app and played a short Sanshin melody his grandfather loved. He set the phone at the root until the song finished, then pocketed it like a spent incense stick. As he packed, the wind fell one last time and the pine spoke without vowels, just breath through teeth, the way his grandfather did when concentrating. He smiled like an idiot and bowed too low for a man on a bluff. He left before the sun touched the water. The trade winds resumed their ordinary gossip with the grasses. A single strand of red cloth caught on his tripod. He tied it to his car mirror and drove back toward Naha, listening to a pine that had already learned his name and would keep it until he needed it. If a tree learns your name, teach it a song instead of an answer. Daylight is for visitors. Night is for listening. Tie your promise in red and go while the wind is still your own. Okinawan spiritual practice is distinct from mainland Shinto. Sacred groves, utaki, and female spirit mediums, yuta, remain important. Offerings may include awamori, rice, shells, and red cloth. Nirai Kanai refers to a distant sea realm of deities' ancestors. Local language, uchinaguchi, phrases like mensore, welcome, and nife debiru, thank you, reflect lived culture. Esa drums, sanshin music, and respect for winds and trees are part of Ryukyuan lifeways. Banyan, gajumaru, and pine both figure in folk tales.